Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Luke, and today's video is all about batteries part 2. Last week's video was all about batteries part 1, where we changed out the battery cables. But today we are going to be changing out the actual battery, testing it, seeing what is wrong at the core. In the meantime, hit like, hit subscribe. Now let's get to it. So this thing hasn't been starting. Let me show you what's going on with it. So when I put the key in and turn it to turn the car on, nothing happens at all. There's no sounds, there's no lights. This thing is totally dead.
Once you have determined that your vehicle won't start, you'll need to pop your hood.
Next, find the hood latch, and that will allow you to open your hood, and then take the kickstand for the hood and put it in place so it will sit safely open while you work on the battery. Okay guys, with the hood up, the easiest way I tell people to locate your battery is to look for the big square. So they all look the same for the most part. They're just a big blocky square, and there's generally two posts coming off of it with two big cables. And it's most likely in the front of your car on the driver's side, but sometimes you'll find it over on the passenger side. You can find it in the back, but they all look for the big blocky square with the cables, and this is your battery. For those of you that have a voltmeter, so we've got our voltmeter right here. You can test how well your battery is doing by switching it to your VDC setting and taking your negative and your positive posts and touching them to the battery and seeing what your readout is. This readout is showing 2.5 volts DC, which is severely low. This thing might be showing lights, probably not at this point. A healthy battery should be at about 12.6 and above. So I'm going to next jump start this vehicle and see what my readout is. It should be around 13.7 to 14.7 volts. And we'll see how well that does with it started. But I'm going to have to, at some point today, fully charge this battery to do a bench test on it to see if it's still good or not. If you guys don't have the tools or capacity to do that, you can take your vehicle to AutoZone or any other car part place, and they'll take your battery out there and actually test it to see if it's still good or not. And if it's not, they can replace it for free for you, which is awesome if you don't have tools and you don't have the knowledge to replace a battery.
Here I'm testing the battery with the vehicle running. We had to jump start it to get it going, and all the parameters with it running look fine. The secondary ground testing right there, just to check and make sure everything's grounded properly.
Everything checked out fine on this battery with the voltmeter checks. I'm going to take it into AutoZone and actually have them throw it on their charger and get a full charge on this battery so I can see and have them test it with their machine to see if it's still good, because what I see now on my voltmeter is just a low charge battery and maybe it's still good. And I want a second check, and what I'll do is remove this really quick and we'll run it into AutoZone and have them check it out.
So right here I'm using just a standard socket set to remove the nut off of one of these posts. I'm starting with the negative side first, taking off the secondary ground. I left this in here for those of you who are removing a battery for your first time. So the tools you'll need is just a standard socket set. So secondary wire I took off. Not all batteries have that, mine does. And then moving over to the positive side, loosening up that terminal. Then what I'll do is jump back over to the negative side. You always remove the negative wire first. Okay, this comes right off, and then followed by the positive side. Here is the battery on the AutoZone charger. If you take your battery in to get a full charge, it will normally take about 2 hours, so plan ahead for that. So the battery's been charging for about 4 hours. He'll plug in the cold cranking amp value of this battery to put a load test on it. And as you'll see, a little yellow light will turn on and it will say C display. And if you look at the display, the battery hasn't even charged in 4 hours. So it's a bad battery. It won't take a charge at this point, so we'll need to replace it.
Here is the old battery versus the new battery, and immediately I can tell the size difference. So I had the people at AutoZone look up which battery goes to my car. This was the one that they came up with. So this one fits my car dimensionally, it's correct, so that when you put it in there it's safe and secure. I also had them look this one up to see if it was even supposed to be in the vehicle. We found out that it was not. Aside from it being bad at this point, this battery was not supposed to be installed in my vehicle. And the batteries come in all sorts of different sizes, different shapes, different colors, and they all mean different things. So the easiest way to figure out which is best for your application is to ask them at any auto parts store to have you help me look up, I need a battery for me, for my 1998 4Runner, and they'll look it up in the system and they'll tell you exactly which one you need. So with these two side by side, we'll take out the voltmeter again, and I'll switch it to VDC. So this brand new one should be at 12.6 volts. So 12.6, perfect. And then we'll go back to this old one, and that one is at 3.3, so it's very low again. This one's dead. It won't charge, it won't hold a charge. You can jump start the car and it'll keep the car running, but it'll keep it running until you turn it off, and then it won't start the car again. So what I'm going to do is take this old one into AutoZone. They'll give me $18 back for this as a core charge. It's still worth money. Don't throw these away. They'll take them, they'll recycle them, and they'll make them new again and put them back out into service. Now I'll put the new battery in place on the battery tray. And we'll remove the cap from the positive terminal. With the battery firmly in place, I'm going to take some battery terminal and cable protector and coat each terminal with this stuff. It'll help prevent corrosion. It's just a good idea when you're doing a brand new battery to put some of this grease on each post. We'll coat each one pretty generously. Starting with the positive terminal, I'll take the new cable that we put in here on our previous video and fit that into place. If it is tight when you put it in, you can take a screwdriver and pry the terminal open and fit it snugly down on the battery. And then we'll put the rest of the terminals that go on the positive side in place before we crank this down. And now I'll do the same thing for the negative side. To complete the install, we will finish it by putting the battery hold down strap in place and tightening it down. And it fits perfect. This will be our first startup since we put the new battery in and the new cables. I'm excited to see if this thing will actually turn on. And that sounds good. I'm so excited that this thing actually works. It's amazing when you fix something and it turns back on. There's such joy with that. And that is a wrap for today's video. I'll see you guys on the next one.